In this video, I'm going to talk about subject verb agreement. So when you have a singular subject, you have to use a singular verb, and when you have a plural subject, you have to have a plural verb. So this video will then go over subject verb agreement, which is very important in the writing of your papers. So I'm going to use examples from Rules for Writers by Diana Hacker and Nancy Sommers. So without further ado, I'm going to go over subject verb agreement from your Rules for Writers book. Make subjects and verbs agree. In the present tense, verbs agree with their subjects in number, singular or plural, and in person, first, second, third. I sing, you sing, he sings, she sings, we sing, they sing. Even if your ear recognizes the standard subject-verb combinations presented to you, you will no doubt encounter tricky situations such as these. Learn to recognize the standard subject-verb combinations. This section describes the basic guidelines for making present tense verbs agree with their subjects. The present tense ending s or es is used on a verb if its subject is third person singular, he, she, it, and singular nouns. Otherwise, the verb takes no ending. Consider, for example, the present tense form of the verb love and try given at the beginning of the chart on page 204. The verb be varies from this pattern. It has special forms in both the present and the past tense. These forms appear at the end of the chart. If you aren't sure of the standard forms or verbs, then you can always look it up in a dictionary. Make the verb agree with its subject, not with a word that comes between. Word groups often come between the subject and the verb. Such word groups, usually modifying the subject, may contain a noun that at first appears to be the subject. So by mentally stripping away the modifiers, you can isolate the noun that is in fact the subject. So here, the samples on the tray in the lab need testing. So the samples, that's the subject. And then on the tray and in the lab are all prepositional phrases. So that means that the subject of the sentence is samples. And samples is a plural subject, which needs the plural verb need. Okay, high levels of pollution cause damage to the respiratory tract. So of air pollution is a prepositional phrase. So therefore, the subject is high levels cause damage to the respiratory tract. The slaughter of pandas for their pelts has caused the panda population to decline drastically. So therefore, of pandas and for their pelts are all prepositional phrases. So therefore, the subject of the sentence is the slaughter. So the subject is slaughter, not pandas or pelts. So therefore, you have a singular subject, slaughter, singular verb, has. Phrases beginning with prepositional phrases as well as, in addition to, accompanied by, together with, and along with, do not make a singular subject plural. The governor, as well as his press secretary, was on the plane. So here the governor is the singular subject, governor, and therefore it takes a singular subject, a singular verb, was. To emphasize that two people were on the plane, the writer could use and instead. So if you say the governor and the press secretary, then you would say were. Treat most subjects joined with and as plural. Leon and Jan often jog together. So jog, so when you have a plural subject, you use a plural verb. The Supreme Court's willingness to hear the case and its affirmation of the original decision have set a new precedent. So here you have the Supreme Court, that's one subject, and its affirmation. So here you have two subjects, so then you have When you have a plural subject, you have plural verb. Subject verb agreement at a glance. So these are the verb conjugations in present tense of regular verbs. I love, you love, he or she loves, we love, you love, they love. I try, you try, he or she or it tries, we try, you try, they try. I have, you have, he or she, it has, we have, you have, they have. Singular. I do, I don't, we do, we don't. Second person case, you do, you don't. Third person case, he or she does or doesn't. He or she or they do or don't. So I am, you are, he or she or it was, we were, you were, they were. So when to use the S or ES of a present tense verb. So whenever I'm not sure, whenever I'm not sure if something is, you add the S or not to the verb, I just go over in my head these conjugations. And I would say, John and Elaine. Is it John and Elaine talks or John and Elaine talk? And so since John and Elaine is a plural subject, then it takes they. So they talk. You don't say they talks. So therefore it becomes John and Elaine talk. That's how I do it. Anyway, I just go over the conjugation in my head if I forget, and I just go John and Elaine. They talk, because John and Elaine is a plural subject, and a plural subject always takes a plural noun. So is the verb subject he, she, it, or one? No. Is the subject or singular noun such as parent? No. Is the subject a singular indefinite pronoun? Anybody. Anybody, each. Any of these all use singular, okay? All of these take singular, okay? So, no. Use the base form of the verb such as love, try, have, and do. In other words, if it goes all the way down this way, it looks like it's plural, and going this way looks like it's singular, okay? Use the S form when something is singular. Going in this direction, it looks singular. Going in that direction, it looks plural. Anyway, so that's how you can use these flowcharts in order to I don't even bother with flowcharts. I just say Elaine and John, they talk. Elaine talks. Then she talks. Something like that, when it's one subject. So singular subject takes a singular verb, plural verb takes a plural subject, or the other way around. And I don't know why I did that, so sorry about that. And then with subjects joined with, and when a compound subject is preceded by each, every, you always have a singular. So every man, woman, and child is, or each man, woman, and child is. So anytime you have an indefinite pronoun, you always have a singular verb. With subjects joined with or, nor, make the subject agree with the part of the subject nearer to the verb. A driver's license or credit card is required. A driver's license or 2 credit cards. So when you have or, then here you have a credit card, and then the credit card, that's the noun that's closest to the verb becomes the subject of the sentence. So here you have a singular subject, credit card, takes singular verb is. And then here, the noun that's closest to the verb when you have or is credit cards. Therefore, credit cards are. So that plural subject, credit cards, takes plural verb are. If an infant or a child has a high fever, call a doctor. So here, child is a singular subject, and it takes a singular verb, has. Neither the chief financial officer nor the marketing managers, and here the noun that's closest to the verb, which is plural, takes a plural verb. So it's always with subjects joined with or, nor, either or, neither nor. You make the verb agree with the part of the subject nearer to the verb. Treat most indefinite pronouns as singular. So all of these are all indefinite pronouns because it doesn't name a person. So therefore it's indefinite. You don't know who these people are. So here, anybody, anyone, anything, each, either, everybody, everyone, everything, neither, nobody, no one, nothing, somebody, someone, something. All of these indefinite pronouns all take a singular verb. So for example, nobody is perfect. See, everybody knows that cliche. You don't say nobody were perfect. Somebody is coming to knock at my door. Someone is watching over me. Anyone can be is the thief or whatever. So all of these take singular verbs, are all singular subjects that take singular verbs. Everyone on the team supports the coach. So on the team is a prepositional phrase, so that's not the subject. So here the subject, everyone, takes the singular verb supports. Each of the essays. So of the essays is a prepositional phrase, and so each is the subject, and therefore has is the verb. Nobody who participated in the clinical trials was given a placebo. So the subjects of these sentences are each and nobody. These indefinite pronouns are third person singular, so the verbs must be has and was. A few indefinite pronouns, all, any, none, some, may be singular or plural depending on the noun or pronoun they refer to. Some of our luggage. So here, luggage is the subject, and therefore you have a singular subject, takes a singular verb. None of his advice makes sense. So here advice is the subject, and in singular subject makes a singular verb makes. Plural subject rocks, plural verb are. Plural subject eggs takes plural verb were. So a few indefinite pronouns may be singular or plural depending on the noun or pronoun they refer to. So if the sum of our luggage, and this is a collective noun because it looks like it's plural, but actually it's singular. Advice actually looks plural, but actually it's singular. And luggage and advice are both non-count nouns, and non-count nouns cannot be made plural. You can't even, that's why it's called non-count nouns. Countable nouns such as rocks and eggs can be made plural. So you'll be going over that in the next section. So when the meaning of none is emphatically not one, none may be treated as singular. None meaning not one of the eggs was broken. Using not one instead is sometimes better. Not one of the eggs was broken. Treat collective nouns as singular unless the meaning is clearly plural. Collective nouns such as jury, committee, audience, crowd, troop, family, and couple name a class or a group. In American English, collective nouns are always treated as singular. They emphasize the group as a unit. Occasionally, when there is some reason to draw attention to the individual members of the group, a collective noun may be treated as plural. So if I want to talk about the family, all of the family as one unit, then it becomes singular. The family is an important institution in American society. If I want to treat the family as individual members, okay, as in each and every member, then the family members have problems. So here you can, and then of course when people are speaking, they usually take out the word members and just say the family have problems. So when you say the family have problems, you are treating the collective noun family as each and every one of the members. So here, the class respects the teacher. It's singular because the entire class as one respects the teacher. So if it's one singular entity, then it is a singular verb. the class are debating among themselves. So if you're talking about each and every class member, and each and every class member are debating among themselves, then you have plural verb. Then it becomes plural subject, becomes a plural verb. So to underscore the notion of individuality in the second sentence, many writers would add clearly a plural noun for a plural. So here, the class members are debating among themselves. But a lot of people take out the word members and then just say the class are debating among themselves. The Board of Trustees meets in Denver twice a year. So here the Board of Trustees, all of them meet together as one. So therefore it becomes singular. So the board as a whole meets. There's no reason to draw attention to its individual members. So when you're not drawing attention to the individual members, then the collective noun, which looks plural, can then be singular. A young couple were arguing about politics while holding hands. So this meaning is clearly plural because only separate individuals can argue and hold hands. So if you're talking about separate individuals and yet you have a collective noun, that is a noun that looks plural, then it is still plural. Anytime you want to emphasize the individuality of the collective noun, then it's plural. But if you want to treat the collective noun as one singular entity, then it becomes singular noun, singular subject that takes a singular verb. The phrase the number is treated as singular. A number is treated as plural. So the number of school-age children is, and then the number just means one, one group of numbers of school-age children is declining. A number of children is similar to a few children or many children. So therefore, many numbers of children are attending the wedding. And so therefore, a number becomes plural. In general, when fractions or units of measurement are used with a singular noun, treat them as singular. When they are used with a plural noun, treat them as plural. 3/4 of the salad has been eaten. 20 inches of wallboard was covered. Only 1/4 of the drivers were texting. 2 pounds of blueberries were used to make the pie. So make the verb agree with its subject even when the subject follows the verb. And so subjects usually follow, subjects usually come before the verb. But in certain cases where you have there was, then the subject comes after the verb. And so there are surprisingly few honeybees left in southern China. And therefore, what is the subject in this sentence? So this is one of the unusual instances where the subject comes after the verb. And so there is not the subject. Honeybees is the subject. So if you have a plural subject, honeybees, then you have the plural verb are. There was, or there something, a social worker and a journalist at the meeting. And so here you have two subjects. You have a social worker and a journalist, both. So here you have a compound subject. So a plural subject then takes the plural verb were. There were a social worker and a journalist at the meeting. The subject, worker and journal, is plural, so the verb must be were. Occasionally, you may decide to invert a sentence for variety or effect. When you do so, check to make sure that your subject and verb agree. Of particular concern is or are penicillin and tetracycline, antibiotics used to make animals more resistant to disease. And so penicillin and tetracycline are the subjects. And so here you have a plural subject which takes a plural verb. So make the verb agree with the subject, not with a subject complement. One basic sentence pattern in English consists of a subject, a linking verb, and a subject complement. Jack is a lawyer. Because the subject complement lawyer names or describes the subject Jack, it is sometimes mistaken for the subject. These exercises are a way to test your ability to perform under pressure. And so these exercises, that's the subject, plural subject. The exercises takes the plural verb are. A tent and a sleeping bag are the required equipment. And so tent and sleeping bag, that's the plural subject that requires the plural verb are. A major force in today's economy is children as consumers, decision makers, and trend spotters. Who, which, and that take verbs that agree with their antecedents. Like most pronouns, the relative pronouns who, which, and that have antecedents, nouns or pronouns to which they refer. Relative pronouns used as subjects of subordinate clauses take verbs that agree with their antecedent. So take a course that prepares you for classroom management. And so here you have the antecedent means that you have the pronoun that, and then you have the antecedent. And so the antecedent, you have a singular subject and singular subject course, and therefore prepares is a singular verb. One of the. Constructions such as one of the causes problems for writers. Do not assume that the antecedent must be one. Instead, consider the logic of the sentence. Our ability to use language is one of the things that set us apart from animals. The antecedent of that is things, not one. Several things set us apart from animals. Only one of the. When the phrase the only comes before one, you are safe in assuming that one is the antecedent of the relative pronoun. So Veronica was the only one of the first-year Spanish students who was fluent enough to apply for the exchange program. And so here, Veronica is the subject, so therefore you have a singular verb was. And then who refers back to Veronica. Since Veronica is a singular subject, then you have a singular verb was. Words such as athletics, economics, mathematics, physics, politics, statistics, measles, and news are usually singular despite their plural form. Politics is among my mother's favorite pastimes. Occasionally, some of the words, especially economics, mathematics, politics, and statistics, have plural meanings. Office politics often sway decisions about hiring and promotion. The economics of the building plan are prohibited. Titles titles of works, company names, words mentioned as words and gerund phrases are singular. So lost cities describes the discoveries of 50 ancient civilizations. Delmonico Brothers specializes in organic produce. Controlled substances is a euphemism for illegal drugs. A gerund phrase consists of an ing a verb. So when you have a gerund used as a subject, like shopping, eating, listening, that's always a singular. That's always a singular subject that takes a singular verb. So you would say shopping is fun. Eating is eating good foods is delicious. So even though foods sounds like it's plural, but because eating is a gerund subject, it's always singular. And that's the end of almost. We're almost to the end. We're now doing pronouns. And so when you have, and the next topic I'm going to do in my series is about pronouns. So my next video will talk about pronouns. So I'm done with subject verb agreement. And so basically, if you have a singular subject, you have a singular verb. If you have a plural subject, you have a plural verb. So you always have to make sure that your subject and verb agrees. So if you have any questions about subject verb agreement, feel free to email me at any time.